In an update about the ICE facility shooting in Dallas, the shooter has been identified as 29-year-old Joshua Young. For more on the story, let's listen to Fox 10 to see what they had to say.
Another major story, really huge, that we are following. Police have identified the gunman in a deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. This 29-year-old Joshua Young, his mugshot from a 2015 arrest. This is in Collin County for marijuana possession. FBI says that the shooting is being investigated as a, quote, act of targeted violence. 2 detainees were killed. The third is in serious condition. Officials say Young was armed with a rifle, opened fire from a rooftop, later took his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators say they found rounds near his body with anti-ICE messages written on them. No law enforcement officers were hurt in the shooting.
As you probably would have expected, this drew the ire of the Vice President, J.D. Vance. And he went scorched earth on the whole rhetoric that may have been a contributing factor to this shooting as well. Let's hear what he had to say.
And I think that is the most disgusting thing. The very people who keep us safe ought to be honored and protected and praised by Democrats and Republicans alike. It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government.
If you missed what J.D. Vance is referring to, let's cut to that clip from the previous episode and see exactly what it is that Governor Newsom said.
That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process. No oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country.
Now that you get the gist of what Governor Newsom said, let's listen to the rest of what J.D. Vance's rebuttal was.
When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
Well then, J.D. Vance, go straight to hell. Go straight to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And let them know how you really feel. Let's move on to our next story. Upon learning about the ICE facility shooting in Dallas, panelists Greg Gutfeld and Jessica Tavlov had a back and forth. And I'll let you make the determination on who got the better of it. Let's hear what both of them had to say from a left-wing perspective and then from a right-wing perspective. Let's check it out.
Nazis, you've never done that, but there are people in your party that have done that. Do you think that's responsible?
Listen, I think that fascism and fascists is a very special category of people, and you should use it when it's really applicable and sparingly, because then people will believe you when you say it. And it has become too common to hear words like that, and that is a both sides problem. And last week we went through the litany of times that Donald Trump has used that rhetoric, and the fact that he came out after Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination and said the radical left did this, and then we heard a chorus of "we are at war." And that does permeate the entirety of American society, that they hear that from the top. We don't know
garbage.
that much.
That is absolute garbage.
It is
Now that we've heard Jessica's argument that it comes from both sides and that it was a loner white male with a gun, let's hear what Gutfeld's opinion is on the subject.
No, Jessica, I'll give you the both sides.
Greg,
I agree with you. There is both sides. On one hand, you have the hard left, and on the other hand, you have the left.
Why are you
They're the both sides of the same coin. Because you walk into this room and you're not reading it. There is no both sides. You don't have the evidence for that.
That's not true.
Gutfeld says, I'll give you his both sides. It's the hard left and then it's the left. It feels like he's gearing up towards something. Let's listen to Jessica's counter argument and then let's hear Greg's rebuttal.
Say that Donald Trump says this, you guys act on it. You guys act on it. You want to go back?
Focus on this now. This looks like a kid that was inflamed either by the leftist cabal or maybe he used his own eyes. And maybe he saw what's going on. Maybe there are people in his community who are being picked up by people from ICE. Maybe he saw raids at Home Depot. Or maybe he did hear J.B. Pritzker. He seems like a Morning Joe viewer to me, right? Someone who had tuned in, saw Hillary Clinton, and then went out and grabbed his gun. The common denominator in all of this is that we have young men, usually young white men, who have access to these guns and are carrying out these tragedies. They are nihilists. They live online. And again, do you think it's normal that people are writing on casings anti-ICE? They think that it's a joke. You look at Tyler Robinson's text messages with his roommate and partner, it reads like a joke. They just wanted us on Fox News to have to be able to read that stuff out loud. He even said it in the messages. So I get it. You're amped up. I don't think that I said anything worthy of that level of explosion.
I get it. You want to escape blame and act like the rhetoric isn't a contributing factor to these type of attacks. I get it. You think it's because he lives online and that he's a hermit and that he watches TV and that's their issue and he gets brainwashed by the... Well, guess what? You're proving the point. The left-wing rhetoric is a contributing factor to these type of attacks, and you're basically just feeding into his argument. Now let's hear what Greg says.
Rationalization of both sides. If you have to understand, since Kurt's death, there is no both sides anymore, Jessica.
Why did the DOJ take down the study that showed how much right-wing extremism?
This is the part where Jessica tries to pull information from a report that was debunked from the Federalist. Greg Gutfeld is aware of this, and watch how he basically stops her in her tracks with his rebuttal right here.
Which one? The one in The Economist that was sponsored by a group run by a guy in Antifa? That study that has been discredited by the Federalist? You're walking down a really bad alley right now.
Federalist?
Yes. Yes. I actually did see, Jessica, I did the deep dive on that study.
When Greg did his research on the study that Jessica's referring to as it pertains to right-wing political violence, let's hear the reason why it was debunked by the Federalist. Pay attention.
That study was authored by a project that was run by a guy who says he was Antifa. That is why that whole thing has been scrubbed, okay? It's real simple. You label someone a fascist or a racist or a Nazi, it makes you free to attack them, and that has been the ideology from the start. It's weird.
So why?
No. Let me talk.
Trump does it.
What?
Just tell me why it's okay.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Great. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. You won't be for long. The left.
See how she tries to get under his skin? I'm enjoying this. Gutfeld cuts back. You won't for long. Watch what he says right here.
Calls Trump a hate monger. They have called me a hate monger because I ridicule the left. I ridicule protesters. I ridicule academia, Hollywood, the news media. I make fun of The View every day. I make fun of the UN. Guess what?
Go ahead, Greg. Tell her the difference between what you do and what they do.
No one acts on the things that I say because my side doesn't do that. We say people are stupid. We say people are wrong, but we don't say they're evil. That is your game, okay?
Boom. Bingo. Oh, that's the big difference, isn't it? They act upon it. We just talk about it. We have decorum. They resort to violence. We have sense. They cause riots. We have a revival. They burn down businesses. That's the difference. It's been that way for quite some time, actually. Keep going, Greg.
And then you come and you say, okay, man, this is a mentally ill loner. Well, who do you think does this stuff? It's not Ben Affleck. It's not Tom Brady. It's not even Carrot Top.
I ain't gonna lie. That is not even Carrot Top kind of got me, though. Okay. He's bringing it home, though. Let's watch.
People who do this stuff are always that way. The question is, who points them in that direction? Why pick ICE? Why pick Kirk? Why target TV stations and put bombs under Fox trucks? Huh? Why vandalize memorials? Why kill kids in Catholic schools? Two things can be true. A person can be mentally ill, and you can be guiding him to that place in his life. That is how brainwashing works.
Well said, Gutfeld. Well said. I think we both know who won that argument. It's pretty clear. According to who made what point, I would say that Greg had the upper hand in that debate. And if we look at the recent happenings as it pertains to a politically charged violence, there's no question that it's been more of the left than it has been from the right. Let's continue on with the next story.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations
What did you get from the United Nations, Trump? Tell us. Come on, tell us.
was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, President Trump. You tell them what you got. They didn't help with shit. And they want all of the U.S. to contribute. What? In light of the anniversary that came up, Trump called for unity between the United States and the member nations of the United Nations. Let's hear his message about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and stopping the persecution of this one religion.
In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values, really, that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary.
Are you starting to notice a pattern? President Trump is calling for unity, while the left does its best to divide our nation and to tell us what makes them better than us or what divides us instead of what unites us. Speaking of common ground and what makes us similar, President Trump called for the member nations of the United Nations to take control of their countries and to stop the unmitigated migration that is ravaging through each country. Listen to his speech and what he says on this particular subject.
Europe, I love the people of Europe, and I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice, you want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster.
Which brings us to the last 2 stories of this episode. Former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, better known as Tish James, are about to be indicted on perjury and mortgage fraud, respectively. For more on the story, let's hear what MSNBC had to say.
3 sources familiar tell MSNBC former FBI Director James Comey is expected to be indicted in the coming days. The full extent of the charges being prepared against Comey is unclear. Carol, help us understand the reporting.
So, Katie, we have some sources who say that for several weeks now, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, and actually in offices that are potentially much further south than Alexandria, have been eyeing ways to indict Comey, and they are getting very much closer. They are arguing that Comey, there is evidence to suggest Comey lied to Congress in his testimony on the Hill in September of 2020. There's a statute of limitations to charge people with the crime of lying to Congress or perjury, and that's 5 years. The 5-year statute runs this month.
The office is expected to charge Tish James, the New York Attorney General, with mortgage fraud.
Thank you for joining me on the Vasquez Report. This is Angel. See you next time.